Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
I heard somebody call my name. My voice? I heard my voice call my name. I'm not awake. Forgive me. I heard somebody call my voice. Oh, this does not bode well for today's program. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so I also heard somebody suggest that you can take part in this program, and I'm going to strenuously suggest that you do. You can email me at lynn@pghcitypaper.com, or you can call at 412-200-5686. 200-5686. Simple as that. It's exhausting living in this Trumpified America, ain't it? So let's not go there. Let's talk about spiders. If you're what would that be, an arachnophobic, maybe? If you're afraid of spiders, and I must say, they creep me out big time. On the other hand, I am in awe of them and their web-making abilities. I have sat for hours watching a spider do its thing. Just amazing. And I also appreciate that those webs trap bugs that I don't want to have to deal with. So I understand how spiders are very important, and I do want them in my environment. I just don't want them, like, turning up in bed with me or, just arriving unexpected. I also don't like them if they're really big and hairy, but generally speaking, I am in favor of spiders. I bring this up because I came across the creepiest piece of information. It beats talking about Trump. Just for him, I know, I'm sure he'll come up. But spiders, it turns out, are, like, right now, as I speak, even though this is an extremely solid, if there is not one spider in this room, it would be extraordinary. And yet this room is soundproof. It's got a door that weighs 20 tons. It is excessively clean. But my bet is, and according to research is, it don't matter. There's a spider in here. Or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Actually, somebody did an entomological, that would be right, survey of spiders in our homes, and found out they just did this in North Carolina, one state. And what every single house, every place, obviously, had spiders in them. We live in harmony, generally, with spiders. But here's the stuff you didn't know about them. Wait a minute. It's just the number of them. And they're in our bedrooms. They're in our bathrooms. Those are the 2 favorite places. Bedrooms and bathrooms. And in fact, that is where I tend to spot them. And it says right here that there is a really good chance right now that at least, minimally, one spider is staring at you right now, sizing you up from somewhere in whatever room you are. Now, here's something I didn't know. Spiders, here's something I did know. Spiders eat insects. That's what I know. But some of the larger species, none of which I ever want to encounter, have been known to eat lizards, birds. I mean, I think of a bird eating a spider. I don't think of a spider eating a bird, so it turns out they will even eat small mammals. Yeah. So anyway, two biologists were wondering, if you were to figure out all the food eaten by the world's entire spider population in a single year, can you imagine you're sitting around and this is what two people come up? Let's figure out how much food in pure tonnage the world's spiders consume in a year. Well, they went and did it and ended up in the Journal of the Science of Nature. And what they found is mind-blowing. I'm now getting to what I wanted to tell you. The world's spiders consume, now there's they're not sure, minimally 400 million tons of prey in a year. That's the conservative estimate. Could go as high as twice that. 800 million tons of prey. Who knew there were that many bugs in a year? So, how much do we eat? Get this. All of the humans on Earth, 7 billion of us, we only manage to eat 400 million tons of meat and fish every year. So the spiders, well, okay, they're pretty voracious. We're pretty voracious. But what's the creepy stuff I wanted to tell you? The number of spiders. If you got them all together, every spider in the world, they wouldn't fit in this room, I'll tell you that. And if you were to get them in one place and were able to weigh them, all the spiders in the world would weigh 25 million tons. It's hard to think of a spider and a ton in the same. 25 million tons is what the weight of all the world's spiders would be. And for comparison's sake, the Titanic weighed 52,000 tons. So, furthering the math, all the spiders in the world weigh as much as 478 Titanics. Is this annoying? Or is it like, what the hell is she talking about? And why do I even care? I don't know. It ain't Trump. All the spiders in the world weigh the equivalents of 478 Titanics. That's a little factoid that, you could pull out and at the right moment, in the right place, at the right time, and be considered a real nerd. Really. Okay. They also do know that spiders consume approximately 10% of their body weight in food every day. So that'd be like a 200-pound guy eating 20 pounds of food. Now, I know some of you are up to it, but 20 pounds of food a day. So spiders, next time you look at them, I'm in awe of the webs more than anything. I'm creeped by the way they look. It's something about all those legs and the way they skitter. But I am aware, and it's hard for me to kill one because I know that they're a really important part of the ecosystem. But, man, they are really, just telling you, there's more of them than you think. And again, my apologies to all of you arachnophobics, if that is, in fact, a word. Okay, so back to the horrors of the world. The story I encountered in all my paper perusals yesterday that left me gobsmacked, to use a word that we all learned together on this program. Well, I can't say you learned it, but I did. I'd come across it a lot, and somehow, back in the day, years and years ago, we came on the word gobsmacked. And it's definitely a British, you can tell it's British. But it means exactly what it sounds like. Yeah, gobsmacked. And being gobsmacked by something that is said on Fox News is not exactly a rare occurrence. But this one really blew my mind. I guess just because of the blatancy of its racism and its sexism. Just blew me away. Even though I know racism and sexism is, a lot of what Fox traffics in. But I always think that you guys are way ahead of me because you're a bunch of news nerds. And so forgive me if you're aware of this, but I mean, you're not aware of my reaction, not that you'll be surprised by it. But apparently, one of the biggest creeps at Fox, Bill O'Reilly, yesterday got up a little earlier than usual because he was on the morning show, Fox and Friends, the one that our president watches religiously and then starts tweeting about whatever they put in his head. And somebody on that program said, "Hey, Bill, we're wondering what you thought of what Congresswoman Maxine Waters said the other day on the floor of the Congress." And apparently she was speaking about the president and about what real patriotism is. And here's what O'Reilly said. If you haven't heard it, prepare to be gobsmacked, even noting who's talking and the venue. O'Reilly said, when asked about what Maxine Waters had said this. "I didn't hear a word," she said. "I was looking at the James Brown wig," which got, according to this story, barks of male laughter on the set. Only the other guys thought that was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. "I didn't hear a word she said. I was looking at the James Brown wig." O'Reilly, who loves the laughs he got, continues, "If we have a picture of James Brown, it's the same one." And then the only woman, I think, in attendance, I'm not aware of Fox and Friends, Ainsley Earhart, who hadn't laughed, I guess, or at least barked, said this. "No, I got to defend her on that." She said, "You can't go after a woman's looks. I think she's very attractive." O'Reilly says, "I didn't say she wasn't attractive. I love James Brown, but it's the same hair James Brown, the godfather of soul, had." Now, think about it. First of all, I mean, I shouldn't even, this is not really the defense that is required or the repost required. But Maxine Waters' hair looks nothing like James Brown's hair. I guess to O'Reilly they look the same because it's black hair, which apparently is unsettling for some white guys. So he doesn't hear a word she says. Because after all, women talking, even women in the floor of the House of Representatives, it's just goes in one ear and out the other. And then on top of it, if they got black hair on their heads, you start thinking of James Brown, and the next thing you know, you're gone. Yeah, didn't hear a word she said. Because you're a racist and you're a sexist and you're despicable. Of course, he ends up having to apologize by the time he gets to his show last night. But I mean, these guys don't mind apologizing. I respect Congressman Maxine Waters for being sincere in her beliefs. I made a jest about her hair, which was dumb. I apologize. Okay, here's something else I saw yesterday on TV. Sean Spicer and his daily clown show. And I can't watch that crap. I happened to watch the clip of this specific incident where he mixes it up with the press corps. And my God, he goes after a reporter who's asking him a question about the Russian ties and this and that. And he goes off on this woman like you can't imagine. Now, he's gone off on others, but never, I have to tell you, he talked to her in as if he were a parent talking to a child. The condescension was beyond belief. And then it turns out the reporter daring, excuse me if I hurt your ears, to ask these questions of him, even though that's her job, was not only a female, but black. So in the very same day, in a 6-hour period, we are treated to how these white men, conservative, Republican white men, perceive black women. And the fact of the matter, in the dust-up with the reporter, why am I blanking on her name? April Ryan, who's been reporting from the White House for decades. Oh, by the way, this was the same reporter, showing again the racism, who when asked Trump something about working with, have you met with the Congressional Black Caucus? I think she said, have you met with the CBC? And he said, what's that? And she said, the Congressional Black Caucus, are you intending to meet with them? And he said, well, I don't know. I mean, he said, do you know any of them? Maybe you could set that up for me. Again, this sense of, well, okay, you said black. Okay, well, I can see you're black. Maybe you could set that up for me. She's a reporter. This is also the same reporter that came close to being apparently in a fist fight with Omarosa, who was threatening her, saying that she better toe the line because they had information on her. Could get leaked. One never knows. Spicer ends up telling her, "You're going to have to take no for an answer. Hold on. It seems like you're hell-bent on trying to make sure that whatever image you want to tell about this White House stays. Stop shaking your head." They're sexist. They're racist. Try to imagine, and everybody did who said this, if you look at how he treated her and substitute for her a white, Jim Acosta, another guy who's always there. He never would have said that to Jim Acosta. Not in the tone and not the substance. You wonder what women deal with? The sort of condescension, the I didn't even hear a word she said. I was looking at her boobs, or couldn't look at her hair, or I was watching her legs, which brings us to that picture that was taken in Britain the other day of the head of Scotland, the Sturgeon woman, and Prime Minister May, woman, sitting like two heads of state do, in chairs next to each other, talking. And the headline on the front page of the Daily Mail there is that picture with, "Never mind Brexit, what about who won the legs it?" Like, whose legs are better, since they were wearing skirts. It's just, I guess there's no getting rid of it. You can pass laws that say a woman should be paid as much as a man, and it just doesn't happen. As Susan was mentioning yesterday, even in progressive nations, which we are not, it's very hard to get these forces at work to allow women to be paid the same. So I forgot where I was going. Damn it. I was going somewhere. But uh-oh. Where's my mail? Oh, there it is. Okay, Lynn, sit back and look at this obnoxious show of Trump, fat-ass white boy fraternity. I don't know what you're talking about there, Missy. Sometimes you got to write more than just a subject line, because there's nothing else there. If you're talking about that picture, sort of what I mentioned yesterday about all the white guys sitting around the table with Trump deciding that they were going to take mammograms, pap smears, and reproductive health info and all this other kind of stuff out of the Trump Care Act. This was in that. All those guys sitting around taking basic health care away from women in order to garner. That was it was the Freedom Caucus. In order to garner their votes. Can you imagine? I remind you, the phone number, 412-200-5686. Beth writes, so Hillary Clinton apparently gave a speech that was actually sort of political yesterday. And Beth writes this: I heard a good bit of Hillary Clinton's speech from San Francisco last night. My first thought was, wow. And I wasn't even a Hillary fan. I voted for her, but I wasn't a fan. My next thought was, where was this Hillary during the campaign? Well, I didn't see the speech. She might well have been there, but you didn't see her because the media didn't cover her. Do you remember how, if Trump so much as farted, they went live on all the cable stations and covered. Hillary could be given a major policy address somewhere. They never covered it. Never forget that media was totally complicit in the election of the buffoon in the White House. And that sexism, the sexism that played in is also, it's just endemic. Oh, that's what I was wondering. When will it ever? It won't go away. It just ain't going to go away. I happened to watch on Netflix last night for the second time Dave Chappelle's, one of his stand-up shows. And this is one of the more recent ones after he came back from his 10-year exile. And I understand a lot of people are freaking out about some of the things he says because he's politically incorrect. That's often what humor is. I am now so up to here with the word police that I don't care if he tells a joke and rape is somewhere in the core of it. I don't care anymore. I consider that less dangerous than the word police. Sick of them. I'll say it again. I don't care if you're coming at me from the right or from the left. Don't tell me what I can say, what I can think. Don't tell me to shut up, okay? It's as simple as that. So anyway, Chappelle was noting that gays have made an extraordinary amount of progress in their efforts for civil rights. And then he suggests, but you might want to slow down, he said, just a little bit, because he said, I got news for you. They can pass laws, but it doesn't make the people like you or accept you or anything. He said, he said, Brown versus Board of Education. That's the case from, 1956? Brown versus Education that resulted in the desegregation of Americans' schools. He said Brown versus Education, Board of Education was, 1956 or something. He said, and I still got, somebody flipped me the finger and called me the N-word the other day. He said, it doesn't. And that's so gays got to know that, women got to know it, blacks got to know it, and believe me, we learn it. Legislation doesn't change hearts. In fact, people's bitterness at this change of status for people they used to look down on and now are expected to look at as equals, that bitterness eventually erupts and gets Donald Trump in the White House. I'm just saying. Well, it's our gentleman caller. It's Joe. Hi, Joe.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
Hey, on that healthcare bill, remember when they said they didn't cover drug addiction and all that, rehab, and that's not part of it, was it? It wasn't, right?
I don't know. That bill was such a monstrosity. Probably not, even though half their Trump voters are dying from opioid addiction. Yeah.
Well, I heard something the other day. My neighbor told me that his son, his whole family he hardly speaks to him. He says that they're Trump voters, and I guess his wife works in the ER, and they bring those people back to life. I mean, basically, they're all in. His comment is they should just let them go. They shouldn't even bring them back to life, or you don't get no chances. You're a screw up, so they better off die.
So you're
and I said,
go ahead.
Yeah, and I was saying to my friend, if my neighbor said, now if our country has come to people that say there's a drug addict out there, we're not going to give him help. Let him just die. What? Now, I'm not a Christian or none of that religious stuff. I'm better than them Christians. I say that all the time. I'm pretty much an atheist, and I'm better than a Christian. A lot of them. Not all of them practice what they preach. But it just amazes me how cruel could we become? I mean, what the hell? I was shocked when he said that.
Well, you know,
I don't agree with their.
Yeah. Joe, you're a good guy, and it seems like every other call you make is about that. You're being stunned by the cruelty,
Right,
and lack of caring of so many of the people that you know, and you meet, and you talk to, who would otherwise seem like regular, ordinary people. Yeah, they go to church, they raise their children, they this, they that. But they would say, if seeing a person in distress, let them die. Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a loss of innocence when that keeps getting hit home to you. You know, you want to believe that people are good. You want to believe that. And I know they're capable of good, but man, there's a lot of nasty people out there.
But this Trump has brought this all to the head.
Well, he certainly allowed them to speak out. Yeah. I mean, they don't feel...
It's okay now.
Right, they can say that now. Because you got someone in the White House who says it, essentially. Says the same stuff. So they feel, they're emboldened is what it is. And,
yes, they are.
Yeah, that's maybe, in terms of the lasting damage done by Trump and the Republicans who aided and abetted and continue to do so, I actually think that might be one of the worst things. They turned the rocks over and let all the ugliness come out into the light of day. You could also argue it's good, because better to know. I mean, a lot of black people tell you they like the white folks in the South better than the white folks in the North, because the white folks in the South at least were straightforward about their racism. You know, and the white folks in the North patted themselves on the back because they didn't own slaves. No, we didn't own any slaves. We're good people. They all ran up here. So white people up north, if you ask a black person, they're every bit as racist, and maybe sometimes even more so. And on top of it, they think they're not, or they don't own it, like a good Southerner would. So, yeah, go figure. We ain't... humans are, I don't know. I don't think, not particularly lovable. No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Individual ones are. Bye. I don't know. So anyway, talking about leaving, emboldening the racists and the haters and the horrible people. Trump really has done it. I came across a piece yesterday about how the White House, which, as you know, has still not filled thousands of positions of people who keep our government running. There's empty desks. They threw out everybody who was there because they'd been appointed by Obama in the last 8 years. And they just left the place. There's nothing. I don't know. We're just running on, I don't know. What are we running on? Little civil servants in places are keeping things going. So, meanwhile, back at the White House, Bannon is adding more and more Breitbart-related staffers. They're starting. I mean, I don't know now who's got more jobs in this Trump administration, Goldman Sachs guys or Breitbart. I don't know, but I wish somebody would count them up. And the Breitbart people keep coming in, and actually, so do the Goldman Sachs people. They keep coming. So, let me just, for instance, tell you who some of these guys are. I'm looking at a picture of one of the new hires. He looks like Doogie Howser. He's that young, and he just looks like he looks like somebody you really want to punch in the nose. And his name is Lucian. Somehow that's perfect for him. Lucian Wintrich. Lucian Wintrich. He has gotten official classification as a White House correspondent. So when Sean Spicer does his daily clown show, now little Lucian Wintrich can be in there. Where did he come from? He would gladly accept the title of Internet Provocateur. He says, I don't consider myself a journalist. Well, believe me, Lucian, neither do I. But apparently the White House does. And he works for a website called Gateway Pundit. And he is said to be somebody with ties to Breitbart and the alt-right. On his first day at the White House, with his little correspondence badge hanging around his neck, he took a picture with the head of his boss, with the head of Gateway Pundit. And they're both there standing at the lectern, and they're both going like this, the OK sign. They both got them up. Now, to you and me, I'd look at that picture, I'd say, I wonder why those guys are doing that. Well, it turns out, who knew, the OK sign is associated with Pepe the Frog, the alt-right symbol. Poor Pepe. I mean, they made him the symbol. He wasn't. It's not what he was born to do. And since he's just a cartoon character, he had no say in the matter. But that little OK was, I'm here in the White House. I'm here in the White House. I got my badge. They're calling me a correspondent. What a riot. And I'm just letting you know. And when this Lucian Wintrich sent that picture out to all his adoring fans on his Twitter feed, he also included Pepe's picture, in case you didn't get this, and the hashtag Pepe. There's another recent one, also got a White House press pass. She, alt-right. Her name is Lauren Southern. She's best known for trashing feminists and gays and transgender people. She called Black Lives Matter a violent movement and claimed they've caused more deaths in the last 30 years than the Ku Klux Klan. First of all, and this woman's a reporter, Black Lives Matter hasn't existed for 30 years. It as a movement, as a group. It hasn't even existed for 10. It rose out of Ferguson. Do we remember all that? Let alone resulting in more deaths in the KKK. Oh dear. So these are the people now that when you want to get credentialed at the White House, make sure that the alt-right loves you. And not just correspondence. Now a guy who is a special assistant to the Labor Secretary, Curtis Ellis, used to be a columnist for World Net Daily. WorldNet Daily. That would be the website that totally helped fuel, along with Donald Trump, the birther lie. This guy now is special assistant to the Secretary of Labor. Why would he be there? Well, maybe because he once wrote a column called The Radical Left's Ethnic Cleansing of America, in which he wrote, the radical left planned the liquidation. The radical left planned the liquidation of white blue-collar families. The guy who accused liberals of a plot to kill, extermination, liquidation, that's it, kill white blue-collar working families, is now a special assistant in the Labor Department. Go figure. Actually, it was that column that this jerk wrote that put him on Bannon's radar, because Bannon read his column about this nefarious plot. And obviously Bannon, was into the birther crap too. And there you have it. Get you a job in the White House later. Unbelievable. The guy who started the conspiracy theory that Hillary Clinton was near death, was very, very sick. They used her, when she had pneumonia and stumbled as she got into a car. These guys took that, ran with it, all kinds of totally, just lies. Guy named John Jaggers. He's now a senior advisor at the General Services Administration. They just keep hiring him. And the thing is, it's people like this now infiltrating all the parts of our government with their background, which used to be so marginal. They used to be the people that were under the rocks. People so marginalized, nobody would listen to him. What are you talking about? That guy's crazy. She's nuts. She's an idiot. Now, they're credentialed. They got jobs as special assistants to cabinet secretaries. And the scary part is, again, the lasting damage of Donald Trump, which will take millions of books to, when it's all over, if anyone's left to write it, it will fill, God knows. But this is one of the ones that freaks me out. The fact that he has taken these lying, bigoted lowlifes and elevated them. And what that does then is normalize. It helps to normalize their extremist, hateful, bigoted, crazy, conspiratorial views. Because now they can appear, think of it, even after Trump's gone. Fox News can have any one of these guys on and give them the full weight of, and so, former assistant to the Secretary of Labor, so-and-so, special assistant to the General Services Administration. So all of a sudden they seem like really important people. There's a real danger there. All right, and were you noticing, see, the scary thing about all the Trump stuff and the China stuff and the Nunez stuff and the is that all kinds of other stuff is going on too, and we're not paying any attention. Did you see what happened just the other day? Maybe not. There's a bill that passed the Senate and the House, and it's on its way to the Donald's desk. And believe me, he'll sign it. So this will become law. And it's pretty outrageous. They have voted to upend something that was put in place in the Obama administration, when we actually had a government that looked after our interests as opposed to corporate interests. But now we have a totally corporate interest administration. So what they did is they passed this law, and Trump will sign it, that allows your internet provider, allows Comcast, allows Verizon, whatever you got, it allows them to gather up all the personal data they've got on you. And think of what they got on you. They got everything. The odds are they've got everything. They know what websites you go to. They know your personal data. They might even, I suppose they know your financial data. They know your social security number. They know just about everything. And you know what? Trump's about to sign a bill that will allow Verizon and Comcast to do something that Obama said, are you kidding me? They are now going to be able to take all of that information about you and they're going to sell it. They're going to sell it. They're going to make billions of dollars selling your private information. In the Senate, every Republican voted for it, no Democrat. In the House, every Republican voted for it, no Democrat. When I say the Republican Party is the totally corporate, that's all they care about. They do not care about people. They care about the health and the wealth of corporations. And when some of you come back and say, the Democrats are no different, and I say, I know they've been corporatized to a certain extent, yes. But there is difference. And that vote shows the difference. So this was a broadband privacy policy. It was a regulation that the Federal Communications Commission adopted. And the rule said that, like Comcast could maybe sell your information, but it couldn't do so without asking permission of you. And now, what the Republicans have said is they don't have to ask permission. They got it. Go with it. And as if that wasn't bad enough, the bill they passed prohibits the FCC from ever adopting a similar policy protecting your privacy in the future. Now, I don't know how the hell they can do that. So they did this and they said, and it's in perpetuity. It can never be changed. Incredible. This is a dream for the cable and telephone companies, which want to and always have wanted to capitalize on the value of your personal information. But stop and think about it. It means that these Republicans are going to allow these companies to sell your private information, which they don't own. It doesn't belong to them. It belongs to you. Everything they want to monetize. We are nothing to them except people that they can cash in on. Totally party line vote. And think about this, to add insult to injury. You pay Verizon or you pay Comcast every month. What? For the privilege now of having them take your private information and sell it to the highest bidder. You pay them to do that. Man, what a great setup for those guys. And as a former chairman of the Federal Communications Commission says, just think of the hypocrisy at play here when Trump signs this thing. The man who raged endlessly about being surveilled. Somebody surveilling me and my aides. I mean, we're all in the midst of this horror because of, Obama surveilled me. He's now going to sign a bill that allows us all to essentially be surveilled by people we pay a monthly bill to. Unrestrained sale of the personal information of any American who uses the internet. And I ask you, do you know anyone who doesn't? Debbie writes, Lynn, I'm convinced that Trump is so paranoid that he doesn't want to hire staff. It's obvious the only people he can trust is family and his inner circle. Hence, well, I think he's found out he can't even trust his inner circle with what Flynn did. I don't know. Can trust his inner circle, hence Jared Kushner and Ivanka, and their ever-expanding role in the administration. Well, I agree with you. He doesn't trust anybody except those two. That's it. What a pathetic little man. What a pathetic little man. Wow. Henry writes, if you told me last year that Donald Trump could easily reverse all of the progress of the Obama administration and that he could do it in just 60 days, I would not have believed you. I am surprised by the fragility of our government. It has always been easier to demolish than to build. But who knew it was this easy to transform the United States into something almost unrecognizable? I hear your sorrow and incredulity, Henry, but I would argue that it took more than 60 days. It took years and years and years of Republicans doing what they did. It took building Fox News up. It took right-wing radio. They seeded the ground. They fertilized the ground. They took the Congress. Now, a lot of what you're seeing, though, are executive orders, and they can be replaced by another executive. But yeah, the damage, amazing, huh? And I think, again, if we're learning anything here, and let's hope we are, learning how fragile our democracy was. I mean, if you'd asked any of us 10 years ago, imagine this great country losing itself in this way, with so many of our fellow citizens clearly favoring an autocracy, favoring a totalitarian-like, authoritarian, I'll get away from the harsh, authoritarian government as opposed to democratic government. People will throw it away, and they started doing that. So it's we the people, ultimately, right? And it's not, I mean, there's so many people to fault here. I damn well hope that we learn the right lessons. I think by virtue of all the people you've seen in the streets since Trump shows that people are learning. And then because they're in the streets, things happen. Good things happen. They do get listened to. They do stop some of what these guys are trying to do. So inasmuch as this has brought so many horrors and negatives, it also has awakened a lot of us, stolen our innocence, but made a lot of people put on their boots and realize that what Barack Obama told us when he said goodbye to us in his speech in Chicago, he was telling us, because he knew where we were heading. He knew what was coming. And he told us our democracy was fragile. He told us that Constitution was a piece of paper. It's parchment, guys. And it only exists because we safeguard it. That's the only way it exists. So democracy is not a spectator sport, which a lot of us treat it as. You gotta get involved. And if anything good came, it is that so many people have. But yeah, we've learned this is fragile. It could just go poof. None of us would have believed it. Chuck writes, Lynn, the internet is my business. And I am incredibly upset by yesterday's reversal of the Obama-imposed internet privacy rules. It has always been the case that providers like Verizon and Comcast are storing your online activity, but they were never legally able to share it, not without a summons. Now, your online activity is for sale. It's up to the highest bidder. That's the way Republicans like it. Commoditize everything. Chuck writes, and the next step is this. They will now reverse the rules that prohibit internet providers restricting or slowing your access. Yeah, internet neutrality, it's gone. And then the FCC head he put in place, is all for getting rid of net neutrality, which means that the big guys will control the internet. Well, as Chuck puts it, which means your access to services like Netflix and other streaming services, they can now muck it up for you. If Verizon prefers that you stream your movies from Verizon rather than Netflix, they will cut your bandwidth to Netflix. So they're not only going to give these guys the ability to make money off of our personal information, private information. They are going to they're going to do this too. This is a government of, by, and for the corporations. Simple as that is not for us. And when all these little people who put this administration in figure it out, and I don't hold my breath because I don't know that they will. They just continue to fall for the lies, no matter what's in front of their faces. Brooke writes, if I wanted to spy on each and every American more easily, I'd remove the privacy laws for internet data. That's true, too. Wow. Oh, here we are. And did you even know about that? I suppose not. Because there's so much going on. Okay, guys. Sorry to be the purveyor of awful news all the time, but is my job, apparently. Have a good one, and I'll see you tomorrow, okay?
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.